enjoy this beautiful mosque, yet the local women could never do that. And because we're foreign, we can sort of demand that.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's their right to be in their masjid. And, you know, inshallah, one day they will have a place in the masjid.
Yeah. We saw the imam, and we also met his wife by chance, because she held a calligraphy stall in one of the bazaars that we went to.
And he's actually the calligrapher of that stall, so
Yeah.
we bought his artwork.
Yeah, we've got his artwork, which is pretty amazing. And we know, of course, of the Chinese calligrapher Haji Nuruddin, and we mentioned him to the imam's wife, and she seemed to know about him, but I think he lives in a different city. And yeah, I mean, Xi'an, I can very much feel the vibe of the Silk Road here, and they still seem to like value the history of the Silk Road. I mean, to be quite honest, it's got a bit of an interesting take on it because of all the politics in China at the moment, the way that they view religion and minorities, which is stuff that we can talk about in a different role.
Maybe not so public.
Maybe not so public.
With the army, by the way, just there barricading a pro-government rally. I think it's a rally with a lot of support to basically get university students to oppose Japan's imposition on a fishing island. I'm not too aware of.
It's kind of north of Taiwan, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's their rallies, government sanctioned.
That's the hot topic in China at the moment. We just came from Lanzhou, and there was also, we saw an actual demonstration taking place there.
For the same reason.
Yeah, same reason. So it's pretty interesting.
It's also interesting when you talk to the locals about it. It's pretty much one view you get, and that's about it. Thank God for us, we had a Tibetan tour guide in Lanzhou and Ningxia, where
Rabea calls Phenom Yom, because her name is
the
Yom.
Phenom Yom,
Phenom
aka
Yom.
the Everlasting.
Yeah.
That's what her name is.
Yeah, no, she was really awesome. She was really surprisingly open with us about the experience of Tibetans in China and other minorities. And she just appeared to us as really inspirational, strong, 25-year-old woman who had wisdom beyond her years, and she was really awesome. And she kind of detoured us away from some of the more commercial aspects of tourism that we've encountered on our trip so far, which was really refreshing. So we're here in Xi'an now, but before we were in Xi'an, we were in Beijing, and we also went to another big city called Lanzhou, and Ningxia, which is a smaller city, and it's Muslim dominated.
95%, I think, or 90 to 95%.
Yeah, and the surrounding villages are also Muslim. We kind of went on this beautiful highway that was in a mountainous region, and all we could see were these like beautiful Mughal-style mosques, you know, practically littered all across the mountain ranges, thousands upon thousands of mosques. It was really beautiful, and we were lucky enough to just randomly find an open door to a family in one of the nearby villages. We just kind of invited ourselves in, or the tour guide kind of asked if we could come in and talk to them, and we did. We broke bread with them, literally, and they were a beautiful family, and it was interesting to kind of see okay, we're about to be run over.
We need to move.
Okay.
Apparently the footpaths in Xi'an aren't just for pedestrians.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, so they were a beautiful family. We got to talk through a translator who was our guide about their daily lives. Apparently, the women aren't allowed to leave their houses without their husbands, which is we found was a very conservative interpretation of Islamic lifestyle.
Yeah, and they haven't been anywhere outside the village.
Yeah.
She said, I think one of them said they had heard of Lanzhou, they'd never been there.
Yeah, which
So-
is like the closest bigger city.
So
in that area.
it's kind of strange being 6 loud women who had travelled alone without a home across the world and invited themselves into their home. It felt quite strange.
Yeah, it was quite contrasting.
But a beautiful family. It was a modest home, but it was a beautiful home. It was very clean. It had a garden. They grow their own vegetables. They have their own turkeys and poultry. It seems like a nice home.
Yeah, it felt very warm, and I mean their hospitality was the most beautiful thing of all. Like they had never seen, they've probably never seen too many foreigners at all in their lives, but they were so willing to, so open to find out about, our Dalia Muslim. So it was really cool.
I think everyone in Licia in general hadn't seen anyone who was foreign. We got stared at pretty interestingly.
Yeah.
People.
It's completely off the beaten track, Lincia.
People just could not stop staring, wanted to take photos.
Yeah.
But I think we really shocked some people. They've never really seen anyone who looked any different.
Yeah, I mean they kept calling they kept trying to place us. I don't think they could place us really well. So they kind of looked at us and would say things like Pakistan, and we're like, yeah, nearly there.
So most of them think we're from Urumqi in Xinjiang province.
They kind of keep saying Urumqi, Xinjiang, whenever they see us, which is kind of cool because we were kind of thinking like, do people from Urumqi usually have that kind of an interesting reception when they come to other parts of mainland China? I don't know. Yeah. And that's something that we kind of want to find out more about the situation of minorities. But we came here to find answers, but I think we're here and we've got so many more questions than we came initially.
I think the problem is a lot of people don't have the knowledge. Really, they're very sheltered here. Government controls all the information, all the media. People are pretty much told what to think. If it wasn't for our Tibetan tour guide, we wouldn't have really had we wouldn't have had an avenue to seek any intelligent answers from anyone.
Like, I feel like Beijing, I was kind of blinded by the lights of Beijing in the sense that I thought that I kind of got there and I saw the Muslim community there. It was quite functioning. Everything seemed to be quite normal. But then when we got to meet our Tibetan tour guide, she was just like, she really opened our eyes, and I ceased to be as blinded by the lights of Beijing. I mean, Beijing is a very modern, happening city. It's actually quite fun. I had quite a lot of fun in Beijing.
Yeah, and it's beautiful in parts.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And I mean, the Chinese culture in general is quite astonishing to witness. Like, I'm really enjoying myself here in China.
So am I. I just feel very challenged by it. I think it's a world of contradictions, and even though it's prosperous and it's doing well, you can't ignore its very serious problems it has with its minorities and the way it treats them.
And once you start to scratch the surface of it, it just starts to become a gaping hole. Like, we don't even know where to begin.
It really is like an Orwellian novel.
And it's interesting that we take for granted so much, like our freedom to be able to have these kind of discussions, talk about politics. But when we've tried to talk to some of our tour guides about, or touch upon certain topics like religion, minorities, and political expression, and talking about the protests as well, they kind of become quite reserved and reluctant to kind of talk to us about certain things. And it just kind of shows you that apart from the minorities that the Chinese government is suppressing, it's its own kind of majority population as well that it's not doing too much good by, in the sense that it feeds a lot of lies to them and suppresses them in its own way as well. So, yeah. But apart from that political discussion, what else have we seen? We climbed the Great Wall of China. Woo! Yeah! I was kind of sick the night before and that morning, and I was very weak when we actually got to the Great Wall, but I'm like, I can't miss out on this opportunity. So I gathered up all the strength that I had and I climbed the Great Wall. It was really, really beautiful. And it was very fulfilling as well. I don't know.
Probably one of our highlights so far.
Yeah. And we saw, oh my god, today we saw the Terracotta Warriors.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And we couldn't help
To kind of look at things from an Islamic perspective.
and like it's, of course, archaeologically it's amazing and it's fascinating and it's 2,000 years old but you just can't help thinking this guy really thought that 2,000 pieces of ceramics is going to help him fight when he's dead.
Any potential attackers while he's dead.
And some of them are like crushed now, so I don't really know how that really went for him.
Yeah.
I hope he's doing okay.
I hope we're not being so negative about John. But yeah, we kind of just kept walking there. We'd be like, this is a little bit tricky. But it was visually it was quite an amazing sight. It was really grand. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
And what else have we seen? Ningxia was pretty awesome. I feel like we're not talking about how awesome it was.
And Beijing, I mean, we saw the Forbidden City and lots of things. And
we were in Tiananmen Square, and we just every time we went there, me and Rabea kept on looking at each other, and we were like,
we want to ask about
the tank guy. Like that image kept on playing in my mind, and I'm like, this is where it happened.
But I mean, generally Chinese people have been very welcoming towards us, very helpful.
They have.
We're getting lots of attention everywhere we go.
And I think that's what we're getting heaps of people trying to take photos of us. We're probably on like 1,000 Chinese equivalents of Facebook or other social networking sites.
It's been very strange. I mean, we had one lady in Ningxia who squealed after she took a photo with us. I don't know why it's so exciting, but it is. And it was actually really sweet last night, our first night in Xi'an. There was a group of schoolgirls, probably about 14 or 15, and they were so excited because they had never seen Muslims from anywhere else. So they were very cute.
So it's not just about what you see, it's about the fact that people see you and what their impressions of you are and stuff. So it's interesting. And also, like, I found that Chinese in general, they're so laid back. Like, I think Australians are laid back, but I think that Chinese kind of outdo us in that sense. They're so relaxed. It's a really happy place to be. Like, I was saying to Rabea that I think I could live here for a bit. If I could speak Mandarin, I'd totally, spend some more time here. It's a really interesting place. And
there's a lot to learn from it.
We've got more to learn. So what are we doing next?
So tomorrow we're still in Xi'an, and then we move the next day to Shanghai. Spend 2 days there, and then Yinchuan,
which is northern China, Inner Mongolia. Pretty excited about that.
We
need to sort out our flights. Yeah.
We should do that now, actually.
Okay. Alright, well, we hope we haven't bored you too much.